What's up YouTube? Welcome to another video here at EV Logic. Today we're going to go a little bit more left field and focus on hybrids. Specifically, the purpose of this video is to look at self-charging hybrids versus plug-in hybrids, a brief overview of what each of them are, the key differences, what's similar about them, and also my personal preference or my personal recommendation in terms of what you should go for depending on what your individual circumstances are. I know this is a little bit away from pure EV, but there is still some electrification related to hybrids because fundamentally there is a battery inside of the vehicle. And I know the last couple of videos have been quite lengthy, well, relatively speaking. So this will be a little bit more of a condensed, shorter video. Can't predict exactly how long it will be, but I'm estimating around 5 or 6 minutes in length. So let's start with the similarities. Both a plug-in hybrid and a self-charging hybrid. The term self-charging is something that's relatively new over the last few years. It's more of a PR marketing term. We'll come on to that a little bit later in this video. But essentially, the key similarity between two is that they both contain a petrol or diesel engine supplemented or supported with some sort of electrification. A plug-in hybrid typically packs a much larger battery than the self-charging hybrid and can give you a pure electric only range of about 30 miles without the actual need to use your petrol or your diesel engine. Whereas a self-charging hybrid relies on a much larger petrol or diesel engine that is used to support and charge the battery on the go, specifically brake regeneration while you're slowing down or while you're coasting. So it is a electric motor or electric battery which is essentially supplementing the main petrol or diesel engine. When you look at that in terms of battery size, charging elements, etc., it's obviously going to be more economical when utilized properly to go down the plug-in hybrid versus the self-charging hybrid route. However, the self-charging versus a typical petrol or diesel engine, when you look like for like in terms of engine size, for example, will still give you much better economy and savings on your fuel costs. And there are some other significant advantages as well, which we will discuss in this video. Reasons to buy a plug-in hybrid will be primarily because they will bring you much lower running costs than a self-charging hybrid or an equivalent petrol or diesel vehicle, providing that the majority of your driving is done within a 30-mile radius or range. So day-to-day town or city driving. So you could feasibly power the vehicle most of the time on electric range or battery alone without needing to kick in the petrol or the diesel engine. And then once the range runs out, so if you need to do a longer distance, for example, then the petrol or diesel engine will kick in, and then there will be no need for you to actually stop and charge because your battery has run out, for example. The engine will kick in. Also at the moment, especially in the UK, if you are a business buyer, for example, you can still achieve or see some favorable benefit in kind tax rates. And generally speaking, the road tax for a plug-in hybrid vehicle will be favorable even when you compare it to a self-charging because of the lower potential CO2 emissions, because you can feasibly drive on an electric only range. Again, as mentioned, that's typically around 30 miles depending on the car. Now, one drawback of a plug-in hybrid vehicle is that if the majority of your driving is more than, let's say, the 30 miles as discussed, then you will be utilizing your petrol or diesel engine a lot more. That's when it can be a little bit more problematic because the weights of the car generally, you've got the battery as well as the engine, so it's going to be heavier than a typical ICE vehicle on its own without supported battery. So if a lot of your driving is non-electric and you haven't plugged in, then actually you could even see worse emissions. So I would, generally speaking, only go for a plug-in hybrid if you know that you're going to be charging it regularly and that at least the core of your driving is in town or local city driving less than that 30 miles as discussed. But depending on how you look at it, it's either you get the best of both worlds or the worst of both worlds. What I mean by that is you have to charge the vehicle, so you've got the waiting time as you would get with an electric car as opposed to filling up as quick. But then if you don't charge the vehicle and you're only using petrol or diesel, for example, and you're filling up, you get the benefits of it filling up quick. However, because there's no battery charge and the weight of the car is much heavier, you can see your miles per gallon and your emissions actually decrease quite a bit in comparison. Reasons to buy a self-charging hybrid new car. So for many, self-charging hybrid may be the ideal option for you to actually dip your toes into the world of electric vehicles. Specifically, for example, if you live in a flat or somewhere where there isn't access to much chargers, if you can't charge at home or your public road chargers nearby where you live are limited, then a self-hybrid vehicle is highly beneficial because, as it says in the name, as we talked about earlier, this used to be known as hybrid, purely just hybrid. Now it's, because we've got the plug-in hybrids, it's just to differentiate between the two, it's called self-charging. Essentially, there is no need to plug in. The way it works is that the vehicle, whilst driving, can recuperate some energy through brake regeneration or whatever it might be, that allows you to have bursts of electric energy to support your actual petrol or diesel engine. Another advantage of these self-charging hybrids is that the tech, you can argue, has been around for a while. For example, Toyota and Lexus, a lot of their cars have this technology and have had it for a significant period of time. It's reliable, it works. You can still see quite significant efficiency in your driving, especially now some of the more modern Toyotas and Lexus have an EV only mode, so you can, if you're driving at a certain speed, typically that's going to be below 25 miles an hour, up to a period of a range of like 2 or 3 miles, you can drive in electric only range. Obviously then that will depreciate and you're going to be moving on to the petrol engine that will kick in. So as mentioned, obviously this was a short video, but in conclusion, what should you go for if you're not quite ready for a full electric vehicle and you want to dip your toes in the water? Absolutely consider a hybrid. The advantages, in my opinion, will still outweigh that of over a petrol or diesel vehicle. But what type of hybrid will really depend on your circumstances. If you know that you are able to charge at home and also your driving range typically is less than 30 miles a day or whatever it might be, then absolutely go for the plug-in hybrid, even though the car itself is going to be heavier because you've got an engine and a big battery. Plus also they typically cost a little bit more than a self-charging hybrid. The return in terms of fuel savings, purely by you charging every day and driving on that electric only range, is greater than that you will see in a self-charging hybrid. Plus, when you do have those long distances that you need to drive, you can utilize your normal engine. If, however, you don't quite have the infrastructure nearby for you to actually regularly charge your vehicle, or you do regular long distances, longer than 30 miles, then I would consider the self-charging hybrid route. Again, as mentioned, Toyotas and Lexuses are the kings when it comes to this particular space. The entry price point is much cheaper than that of a plug-in hybrid, even though you might not necessarily see the potential savings in terms of fuel costs as you would compare to the plug-in. You would still see much higher savings in your fuel compared to a traditional petrol or diesel vehicle. So the good thing to remember here is that if you're not quite ready to go for EV, pure EV that is, there are a plethora of options available in the hybrid space, both sides of the fence. So you really can shop around, do test drive the cars and see what best suits your needs depending on what your circumstances are, where you live, the amount you drive, etc. Thanks for watching again, YouTube. I hope you liked the content. As always, please do remember to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. I will continue to do weekly videos. I might start doing YouTube shorts in between, so that's like some quick walkarounds of some EVs or hybrids. I haven't decided yet, we'll see how that goes. But for now, the content will keep coming in every Sunday as usual, so please do like and subscribe and leave your comments down below. If you are considering a hybrid at the moment, if you're considering an electric, or if perhaps you're not ready to make the move either way, please do let me know down below in the comments. Thanks for watching again, YouTube. Peace out.